Yet another winnable game lost, and a head coach who says after the game, quote, "I don't know any other way." We'll put that quote and the loss in context on today's Locked On Predators podcast.
You're Locked On Predators, your daily podcast on the Nashville Predators, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Happy Friday, everybody. Welcome to the Locked On Predators podcast. Thanks so much for making us your first listen of the day. We are, of course, your free daily Nashville Predators podcast. We're a part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Gonna kick off this Friday shouting out our Locked On Predators insiders and our everydayers who are hanging in there after that Thursday night. We appreciate you sticking with us as we talk through Nashville Predators hockey right now. I'm Ann Kimmel. I'm a writer and a co-host with Penalty Box Radio. And friends, I have a Thelma to my Hockey Louise.
And we're just getting closer and closer to that cliff every day. I am Emma Lingan, and I am an NHL reporter and host for the Hockey News.
Oh, in case you missed it, last night the Nashville Predators faced off against the Philadelphia Flyers for the second time in a week, but the results, friend, about the same. Nashville lost another very winnable game. And friends, it's the aftermath that was even rougher. On today's show, we are going to recap the game, including our one word to describe that 3-1 loss. We're also going to share with you a clip of a very visibly upset Ryan O'Reilly and the comments made by head coach Andrew Brunette on what went wrong again. And then we're going to try to turn the page and get you ready for Saturday afternoon's Central Division Showdown with the Dallas Stars. Oof. Before we dive into all of that, we do want to let you know today's episode's brought to you by FanDuel. Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com and win $300 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. This is not a recording that you've heard before, but the storyline may sound familiar. The Nashville Predators dropped a very winnable game, 3-1 against the Philadelphia Flyers. It was a 2-1 game until an empty netter made it a 2-goal lead for the Flyers. This was a game in which Nashville did a lot of things right, but did not get a win. We're going to dive into the statistics and the details and share the aftermath, y'all, the aftermath. But before we do that, Emma, of course, we always like to recap a game with our one word to describe the game. And if you are new here, just to let you know, we don't always use one word because this is our show, our rules. So Emma, lay it out for us. How would you recap last night's game in one word or more?
Well, my one word is going to be two words,
Mm-hmm.
and it relates to something that we're going to talk about in a little bit. You mentioned it already. My two words, welfare check. Somebody needs to issue a welfare check on the O'Reilly household, or maybe on Centennial Sportsplex, because I'm not entirely convinced he didn't just drive straight there after the game and just start working on his shots. He's probably still there. I think Ryan O'Reilly has broken. and now that, again, for those of us who cover him regularly and those of you who listen to the show regularly, you know that this is not new, this self-deprecation. He is always very hard on himself. It's like we get this after wins a lot of the time.
Very true.
But this was another level where he starts not only, dumping on himself, but then going so far as to say he's only had one good season in his entire career. It's like, oh, buddy. Oh,
He's
buddy.
broken. He's broken.
Next time I'm there, I'm slipping him my therapist's business card. I'm like, you should go talk to her because we'll talk more about it in a minute, but
it was one of the most difficult moments for just me personally. And you all know, I can't, I got to tuck the mom in. I can't, I'm there. I can't, but it was really difficult. That was a really difficult. And you know what? We're going to share it with you. We're going to share the clip that Emma's referring to here in a few minutes. My one word is also two words, Emma. And this harkens back to my martial arts days, the glory days of Ann Kimmel. You all missed it. And my 2 words are board breaking. So when you test for your black belt, there are a bunch of different components. There's a written component. And then, of course, there's 2 days of the physical components and execution and all that kind of stuff, whether, grappling, sparring, forms, all this kind of stuff, weapons. But then at the end, you have to do board breaking. And here's what's real. Like you get done with this and we've practiced it. You know how to break a board. We know how to do it. You have to do it with a kick and you have to do it with your hands. We know how to do it. We know the technique. But by the time it circles around to board breaking for your black belt test, you are tired. You have been so mentally focused for 2 days. And the most frustrating thing sometimes happens, and that's that you cannot execute a board break. And you can do it. You have done it in practice. But there is, and I don't even have the words for it, but there is a moment, and I saw it happen with other people. And, I've had moments where this happened for me and different things where there is some nebulous something that you have to find to be able to be successful when you are in an exhausted, discouraged, I have to keep pushing moment. And for me, that came during board breaking. But I think that's where Nashville is too. I think that there is a mental component to what is happening with the Nashville Predators that they have to find. And it's not as straightforward as coaching or words. Do you know what I'm talking about? It's hard to explain.
Yeah, no, I get it. And I think that you describing the board breaking, I feel like that's me every time I try to parallel park. I'm like, I know how to do it. I know how to do it. But like it becomes a mental block at a certain point where it's like, nobody look at me, nobody watch me. And it's like, I know what I'm supposed to do, but I just can't do it. And like, I don't know, maybe that's a me thing, but I think that it gets to a point where you get in your own way more than anything else does. Like you said, this was a winnable game, a beatable opponent, and that I'm no disrespect to the Flyers, not saying that they're a bad team by any stretch, but I would say that, they're it's not the Colorado Avalanche here. I think that you have a chance if you're Nashville, and they just could not capitalize on it.
Could not capitalize on it. And it was frustrating because there were points in the game where Nashville was very clearly in control. They were dictating the pace of play, and we're going to get to the statistics on chances generated. But let's circle back to Ryan O'Reilly. Listen, you go into the locker room after a loss and it's not pleasant. Nobody wants to talk about a loss. No, it's, you have to figure out what are we going to ask about the loss, because you can't go in the locker room and be like, what the hell? Like, can't do that. We walk in to Ryan O'Reilly, and this is just a portion of his comments after the game. This is what, God bless, Ryan O'Reilly said.
Yeah, obviously a chance to take full control of the game. We didn't let them come back in, and they pushed back, and it didn't happen. I know for myself, number one center, and just turn the puck over everywhere. And can't make a 6-foot pass to save my life, so we're not going to have much success if I'm playing pathetic like that. So it's stupid. I don't know the answer. I've had one good year in my career, and I don't have any answers. That's for sure.
Y'all, I had to keep tucking the mom in because it is so hard to see somebody who works as hard as Ryan O'Reilly does consistently. And look, like Emma said, and if you've been around here, Ryan O'Reilly, he is the king of self-accountability. But this was to a level that I think all of us were like, ooh, like this is rough. And when you almost break Ryan O'Reilly, I really dig deep and think you can't break Ryan O'Reilly. You can't.
Yeah. I think with this, I mean, again, as we've said, this self-deprecation is not new
No.
for him by any stretch. You know, people, of course, that clip that you just played, it caught fire. It got shared by a lot of national outlets. People are like, "Oh my God, Ryan O'Reilly!" I'm like, listen, this is just a Thursday. Again, we get this after wins sometimes.
Right.
But this was like, you could tell, like, sort of the next notch up, the next level.
Mhm.
And I mean, when it gets to a point, I mean, there are a couple things. First of all, he mentioned being a number one center. Maybe that's part of your problem. He should not be a number one center. He's being forced into a role that is not really, it doesn't suit him well. He can do it enough, as in he can be a body there that, you know, distributes the puck and stands in front of the net. But I think it's really, you know, again, it comes down to roster construction. You shouldn't need Ryan O'Reilly to be your number one center, but looking around that room, who else is going to do it? So,
Right.
like, it's kind of like, well, I guess this will do for now, but you are breaking him in the process. And he's not the only one that's being asked to
Mm-mm.
play in roles that are not suited for him. So I think a lot of it does come down to roster construction. And, you know, he's beating himself up for not being a number one center. It would be like, I don't know, like if I PR'd in weightlifting or something, and then all I did was dump on myself, be like, yeah, well, I'm not an Olympic lifter, so
Yes.
I'm a failure. And it's like,
Yes.
no, it's like that. I'm not supposed to be. That's okay. That's fine. We can still, and so I just think that it's challenging it's hard to watch,
Mhm.
not only on the ice, but obviously afterwards, talking to these guys off the ice. And I think that, you know, that's one thing. He also is now at a point where he is not only doubting himself right now, he's saying, I only had one good season in my entire career. That was the one part of that where I had to watch it a couple times. I texted you. I was like,
Mhm.
is that really what he said? Like,
Yeah.
we're getting to the point where he is now just writing off everything he's ever done in his career. And that is rough. I mean, quite frankly, I don't think he should have been allowed to speak to the media in that mental state. That's where, like, as a PR staff, you say, oh, hey, he's getting treatment, he's getting something, like he can't talk right now, bring out someone else. Like, bring out Philip Forsberg. You know what you're going to get from him, and he's going
Right.
to talk so quietly you're not even going to be able to hear him. So it's
He's such a quiet talker.
like he's in a freaking library every time he does an interview. I'm like, you can
Mhm.
speak up. But yeah, it's
Yeah.
it was rough.
It was rough. And look, this was you know Ryan O'Reilly. You know you're going to get a lot of self-accountability. But we also got a chance to talk with Nick Hague, and it is very much that same vibe, not necessarily as specifically inward directed. There's certainly responsibility from Nick Hague, but you are talking about a locker room that is feeling like this. So the one takeaway I want people who are listening to have is that don't think it's because this team doesn't care, because the locker room cares after a game like that. They're not like, oh, well, still cashing my check. That's not what's happening. It's really rough. There was another moment in the post game with Andrew Brunette, a clip and some comments that we want to talk about when it comes to the offensive style of play and the mental fortitude of this team. We're going to talk about that coming up. Today's episode is brought to you by our great friends at Game Time. Of course, the NHL season is in full swing, and nothing beats being in the arena for those intense games. But let's be real, getting tickets can be a total headache. Between waiting in queues, surprise fees, and prices that jump right before checkout, it's so easy to get frustrated when all you want to do is go and cheer on your team. That is where Game Time comes in. It is the app that gives fans the advantage. It is your ultimate life hack for scoring amazing NHL tickets fast, easy, and stress-free. There are some big Saturdays coming up here in Smashville, and Game Time can get you there with tickets available. You can see the view from your seat at Bridgestone Arena before you buy, so you can come and cheer on the Preds and know exactly what you're going to get We got games coming up against the Stars, the Jets, the Avalanche. Game Time is where you go to get those tickets. Take the guesswork out of buying NHL tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use our code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. That's code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off in the Game Time app. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Yeah, Emma, it was just a really rough post game all the way around because we left the locker room after talking with Ryan O'Reilly and Nick Hague, walking down the hallway, like, you think he's okay? Is he okay? We're a little worried. Like, this is even for us who were used to Ryan O'Reilly. We were all like, oh, I don't know about that. And then we sat in and we got a chance to talk with Andrew Brunette after this game. Look, friends, we all know it. This is not the first close game that the Nashville Predators have dropped. They're not scoring goals. So we asked Andrew Brunette about it. You know, what is happening when it comes to goal scoring? This is what Bruno had to say.
Well, I mean, the way you're playing right now and creating, that's the only way you can do it. I don't know any other way. If you don't have chances are you're not scoring. So I think we're having chances, they're not going in. Is it execution? Is it, I think a little bit of that is execution. A little bit of that is maybe being a little quicker. A little bit of that is maybe instead of looking for the nice play, that deliver some more pucks quicker. But in saying that, I don't know another way. I mean, if I was sitting here and we lost 2-1 and we had no chances and we didn't create anything, I think, we would be talking about, well, we're never going to score unless we create. And I think we're creating and we're not scoring. So I don't know the other way, if I'd feel great about the other way.
I don't know any other way, is what Andrew Brunette said when we're asking about what can you do to get more goals in. Here is some statistics. Natural stat trick. They count shot chances. Shot chances are a little bit different than shots on goal. They are scoring opportunities. In last night's game, Nashville had 33 shot chances for. 19 of 33 were high danger chances. So he's not wrong. They are generating chances, but they're not finding the back of the net. And so what is that space between generating chances and scoring? He says, maybe it's execution. Emma, what is in that space? What is that? Solve the mystery. What is that?
I mean, after last year, you start to think like, well, this, law of averages, right? Like they can't finish these chances, but like it's just a bad year. Law of averages says like they will eventually, get back to the mean, again, progress to the mean in this case. But I don't like at this point, it hasn't happened yet. And so you do start to wonder, I'm like, maybe it's not just luck. Maybe it's not just, can't win them all. Like it's really just gotten to the point where this is becoming too much of a pattern. I think that it is a bigger, and again, I don't know what the issue is. I mean, I can say like, yeah, they're generating chances, but they're not finishing them. It seems like there are a lot of rebounds that go unclaimed. There's no one there to clean up the rebound, and that leads to offensive zone turnovers. But I think that, I don't know.
Yeah. Even in last night's game, there were two different moments where there was just net front flurry in front of Dan Vladar, and we haven't seen a lot of those this season. We just have to be honest. We have not seen a lot of that. So you saw it and you're like, oh, we're doing the thing. Neither opportunity netted a goal. It netted chances, but it didn't net a goal. And yes, you put on your logic hat and you say, okay, that could be just a really good goaltender. That could be a really good goaltender. But at some point, chances have to be goals. And is it execution? I think, he mentioned too, sometimes we're trying to be too pretty. And I think that you see examples of that. Stop trying to set up the pretty play. You're going to get 0 pretty points. Stop trying to play pretty. Stop making it harder than it is. And of course, that's very easy for us to say, but there are moments where you're like, that was one pass too many, friends. You're trying to make it look really pretty. Don't do that. At some point, chances have to become goals. And you have to figure out, where does that buck stop? Is it with players executing on the ice? Is it with coaching instruction behind the bench? Is it front office roster construction? You don't have the talent to execute the play the way you want. And look, there are some things I think we can be positive about. You can see this season already. You can see what Nashville's trying to do. You can see them executing a style of play. We didn't get that for 84 years last year. You did not know what Nashville was trying to do at all last year. You never knew. We're seeing that. And so that's positive. But you got to be able, like, when you outshoot a team, when you have 19 high danger chances, you got to figure out what is in that gap that prevents those from going in, and you've got to solve it. You got to solve that. Oh my gosh, Emma. I don't want to be too dramatic, because they don't like when I get dramatic on here.
Well, I think too, like, first of all, I love when you get dramatic, so please be
Thank you.
dramatic.
Thank you.
I just think, again, this could just be, I don't want to speculate, and it could just all be in his delivery. It's just his personality, whatever it is. I'm not saying that Andrew Brunette doesn't care, but
Right.
his
But-
delivery of this has happened a few times where we ask, and look, I'm not expecting one person to have all the answers. I mean, he's only human. So it's not like, well, figure it out. But it kind of is a little bit, because I think, too many times we've asked him, like, what's the gap? Just everything you were talking about. Like, what needs to happen? And it's kind of like, I don't know. I wish I knew. I don't know any other way. It's like, okay, but like, are you trying to find another way? Are you going back to the drawing board? And again, I'm not saying he's not, but I'm
Right.
saying
But
we don't hear that from him. And so
Mhm.
I think that it's a little bit of like, you're coming off a little apathetic in your responses, but I don't think you are. I don't think that
Mhm.
you really don't care, but it's like, are you just kind of sitting back and hoping that things turn around? Because we don't know what else to think. So it is a little frustrating in that regard, because you don't know what the conversations are like. You don't know, with the coaching staff, with the players, everything like that. And listen, we're not entitled to know everything that goes
Mhm.
on there, but I think that some level of accountability from the coaching staff would be probably well received, I would say, by the fan base, I think, because right now you've got Ryan O'Reilly setting himself on fire in the locker room, and then the coach is like, well, I don't know. And it's
Yeah.
like, dude,
Yeah.
read the
And
room.
while I appreciate, like, I will say, as a media person, I appreciate that Andrew Brunette is responding. He's not giving you a hockey answer. He is really responding very truthfully, like, yeah, I don't know what that missing piece is. And so I appreciate that. But also, at some point, you have to figure that out. And it's, I think for me, you said it, and it hit right for me. It leaves the interpretation that you're just sitting back and waiting for this to self-correct. And look, maybe it will. Maybe this is just, bad puck luck. Maybe, but that feels uncomfortable when your team is 5-7-4 and you have consistently lost these close winnable games. And that, you've got to balance what the statistics are saying versus how it feels to watch this team be 5-7-4 when there are a handful of those games that were winnable for Nashville. Emma, at what point do you do something? Nashville has a game Saturday. They have a game Monday in New York. They fly off to Sweden, my homeland. 2 games there against Pittsburgh. If this is off the rails after Sweden, do you do something?
Well, what's the something? What's the something you do?
You're going to make me
Do
say
you
it out loud, aren't you? You're going to make me say it.
Well, But listen, no, I think that there's actually, I mean, everyone wants Brunette to be fired. I get that. I still don't know that Barry Trotz is going to pull that trigger midseason. I'm not saying that's the correct course of action. I'm just saying I don't see it happening. But that doesn't mean that something won't be done. Maybe, when you talk about, are you going to do something? That means start the sell off. Start trading any pieces that you can for whatever you can. All the guys on expiring contracts, gone. Like, I'm talking full scale rebuild. And yes, that includes Ryan O'Reilly, Michael McCarron, Michael Bunting, Eric Holla. I mean, seriously, if you want to really do something and change course here, you're going to have to blow the thing up.
And it's not going to be easy to do because
No.
some of those contracts have no moves and some of them ain't nobody touching. So
Yep.
there is no easy answer. Here's the other thing I will say for people that are like, do something. And look, we all have that moment where we want to see some more success, especially when the success is dangling in front of you like last night and then it's just whoosh, gone. I don't know that Barry Trotz is going to do anything. Again, we've talked about this. He's a head coach. He looks at things from the position of a head coach, grace and abundance. But also, look, let's just be real. Nashville is not going to be, we knew this at the beginning of the season and said respectfully, Nashville is not going to be a top team in the Central Division. So do you let Andrew Brunette grow through this in a season where the team is not going to be competing for the, Western Conference #1 spot? I don't know, man. I don't know. I just know that I'm really worried about Ryan O'Reilly.
We all are.
We all are. We're worried about you. Coming up, we are going to hit on a couple of positives from last night's game. And then we and the Nashville Predators have to turn the page because, friends, there is a Central Division showdown right around the corner. Today's episode is brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. The NBA is back, and there is no better place to get in on the action than FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Even if you miss the start of your favorite game or you want to ride the hot hand, FanDuel has live bets on everything from who will score next to those fourth quarter comebacks. Plus, you can even combine your live bets into a same game parlay for a shot at a bigger payout. It's going to keep every NBA game exciting, especially when it's your team making that late push. Right now, FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. So head to FanDuel.com to sign up and play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. All right, Emma, there were some positives and I'm not saying we have to sugarcoat anything, but let's shout out the positives. And can we just start with the shift from Ozzy Wiseblatt that had everybody singing Miley Cyrus's? He came in like a wrecking ball. Ozzy Wiseblatt, you get a shot when you get to the NHL. You have a limited window to make a name for yourself, to show what you are capable of. Ozzy Wiseblatt is like, I'm here. He hasn't scored yet, but it's not because we aren't seeing flashes of offensive potential with him. But he was in that game last night doing Ozzy Wiseblatt things. And I just shout out, because you're not the glamour guy, but you are playing your role. So shout out to Ozzy Wiseblatt for me. Love that kid. Love that kid. A little scared of him.
I mean, honestly, give me more of that. If this team is going to be bad, at least make them bad and interesting, because right now this team is bad and boring.
Yes.
And so Ozzy Wiseblatt was one of the only fun parts of watching that team right now.
Yes.
He is genuinely fun to watch. He is like a little wrecking ball out there. He stirs it up. I love what Mike McCarron said about him last week when we were asking him about playing with Ozzy Wiseblatt, and he's like, yeah, other guys come up to me like, what is he doing? And I'm like, I don't know. And so I think that's exciting. It's fun. If the team is going to suck, at least have more fun things to watch. Like the San Jose Sharks, for example, bad, but fun. Bad but
Mhm.
fun.
Come on.
This team is bad and not fun. But Ozzy Wiseblatt is the one little glimmer of fun that we have.
Yes. He is fun. Every time 89 gets out on the ice, you're like, what's he gonna do next? And that's fun. Also want to shout out a player that we have talked about. Everybody knows what I'm about to say, but let's just reiterate the fact that Juuse Saros is giving his team a chance to win all of these games. Juuse Saros, night in and night out. If this team could score more goals, Juuse Saros is doing his Finnish damnedest to give this team a chance to win. And, he does it consistently, and I think it's overlooked. But Saros is keeping this team in games. So, give the dude his props.
We talked, I mean, you mentioned it earlier, how many close games this team has been in this year. The reason they're close, most of them, is because of Juuse Saros.
Yep.
Like, there are so many of these games that could have gone off the rails way earlier if he was not on his game. And I just think this is why I hate the wins and losses stat for goalies, because it's not all on them. I think that, again, in the majority of cases this season, if not all cases, Juuse Saros is not the reason this team lost.
No. There were several breakaway chances last night, and here is how Juuse Saros is on his game with a very good start to the season, because I didn't feel the need to dig in and take some tums as the breakaway unfolded, because I'm like, oh, I'm sorry, that's Juuse Saros, and that you're gonna have to work hard to beat him. And he did such a fantastic job last night. And the defense in front of him, I think, is making it easier than they did last season. But Saros, dude, is giving you a chance. He is giving you a chance on a silver goaltending platter. Score some goals. Also want to shout out, and I know you're going to feel like this is a broken record, Matthew Wood. His point streak broke. I'm a little bit sad about that. Also, update, we asked for clarification because sometimes we hear people calling him Matt Wood. And then sometimes we hear Matthew Wood. And it's like, you don't want to get too familiar and mat it up if he's Matthew. So the official word is, in writing, he is Matthew Wood. I just think we finger gun him in person until we know what we call him. Whether he's comfortable being Matt or Matthew. So just, hey, we're going to do a little of that. I love what we're seeing from this kid, Emma. And I get it. It's early. He's, played a few games in the big NHL picture. But we're seeing consistently good play from this kid. And, for a kid who is not for a kid who is going to get at least community service for being out in public with an open can of Pabst, gosh, this 20-year-old, I love watching him play. It's just there again, find your pockets of joy. I give you finger guns, Matt Wood.
Mr. Wood. It would
Mr.
be like
Wood.
when you couldn't remember Nick Blankenberg's name and he was Sir Blankenberg for a minute.
Blankenberg, yes. We try. There's a lot of names.
Yeah. I will say Matthew Wood, one of the, if not the most pleasant surprise of this season.
Yes.
Now, I'm not saying I didn't expect anything from him, but I did not expect him to have the training camp that he did. I thought he was for sure going to start the season at Milwaukee, which he ended up doing because he got injured. But if he hadn't gotten injured in camp, he was making the roster. He was making the opening night roster, and he deserved to. I mean, he looked fantastic. He looked like a man on a mission, and he still does. Now, he went down to the AHL, little bit of conditioning, came back, and like you said, 4-game point streak. I mean, he has looked really, really solid for this team. And it was not to say I didn't expect that from him ever, but I'll be honest, I didn't expect that from him right now.
Yeah.
I thought it was going to take a little bit more time for him to get to that point where he's actually an impactful presence on the ice. We talk about guys like Ozzy Wiseblatt, for example, so fun, but he wasn't a surprise to me. That was that's kind of what you expect from him. that Wood has been surprising in a very, very pleasant way. So more of him, more of Ozzy, less of Ryan O'Reilly, slamming his head in the car door repeatedly. Like, he reminds me of Dobby. I'm sorry, I'm
He
going
is
off on a tangent now.
Dobby.
But when
Oh.
Dobby in Harry Potter, does something wrong or he's mad at himself, he just starts like slamming his head into the wall or into the drawer. And I'm like, that is Ryan O'Reilly in the locker room. So less of that, please.
You know how we worry, Ryan. I know. And again, like, you get to be a really great NHLer, which PS Ryan O'Reilly, you didn't just have one good year. You're consistently a great NHL player. You don't get there by not holding yourself accountable. But as one commenter said on that video, bro, you ain't the problem. So, bless. All right, turning the page. Again, another game where Nashville has to find a way to emotionally turn the page, get back on the ice, and get focused because, friends, the Dallas Stars are coming to town on Saturday afternoon. It's a 2:30 puck drop, just so you know. It's not a Saturday night. Dallas is coming in off of a 7-5 loss to one of the greatest teams in the freaking league right now, the Anaheim Ducks. Didn't have that on my bingo card, but here we are. Of note, pay attention to this. 3 of Dallas's 5 goals last night were power play goals. Cole Smith going to be cashing in on some ching from his armchair watching the penalty kill if they give up some power play goals. Emma, what is the key for Nashville in a game against the Dallas Stars?
Well, I'll take it, zoom out one step further. You talked about 3 of the 5 being on the power play. Dallas scored 5 goals and they still lost. Okay.
I know.
So whether they're on the power play or not, I mean, good Lord. I think, you have to neutralize those chances for Dallas. And this is a Dallas team that has not been as dominant. They're pretty injured right now. As a team, they are pretty injured. They have taken, obviously they lost to Anaheim. They've taken games to overtime. They did beat the Oilers in overtime in a shootout the other night. And, they went to overtime against Tampa, against Florida. Like, they are going to hang in it. They ended up losing those games, but they're going to hang with it. They're going to send these close games to overtime. If they get in a close game, they're probably going to win. So again, if you're Nashville, it's about like, I have more confidence in this team defensively, which I never thought I would say after last year, but I think that I have more confidence that Nashville will not let Dallas score 5 goals than I do that Nashville will score 1 goal.
Yeah.
Or 2.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
and it's, yeah.
Even if you only hold Dallas to 2 or 3 goals, Nashville's still going to lose.
Yeah.
So you got to score more goals.
Yeah. It's frustrating because these are all close games for Dallas. Even last night, it was an empty net goal that made it a 2-goal loss. Like, these are close games for Dallas, but Dallas finds a way to get a point or 2 points if they can get, like, they won 1-0 over Washington. Nashville has to convert chances into goals. Like, and I know right now it feels like converting like Celsius into Fahrenheit in your head, no scrap paper, but you got to do it. Like, you got to solve the equation. Solve the equation. We're begging you. We're begging
That's a good analogy, like Celsius into Fahrenheit with no scrap paper. I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Duct tape and a dream, brother. That's
Duct
all I
tape
got.
It's warm, it's cold. That's how we do Celsius and Fahrenheit here. Yeah. So big game Saturday afternoon, Central Division. Nashville needs the points. Nashville needs the win. They need a win in a close game. It would be so lovely. We'll see what happens. Of course, Emma and I will be here to recap this game. We're going to break it all down on Monday, let you know what we see happening from the Nashville Predators as they, again, try to convert Celsius into Fahrenheit with no scrap paper. Emma, before we log off on this Friday, will you let everyone know where they can find you and your work?
You can find me printing out my therapist's phone number to give to Ryan O'Reilly the next time I see him. You can also find me on social media at Emma_Lingan, and you can find my work at the Hockey News.
You can find me huddled up with Emma as we plan our 2-woman intervention for Ryan O'Reilly. You can find me on social media at ANK_Mama on Ice. You can find my work with Penalty Box Radio. That's going to do it for this week's editions of the Locked On Predators podcast. Thanks again so much for making us your first listen of the day. We'll be back Monday. Hope you all have a fabulous weekend. We'll see you then.